Hello, hello. This is Dawn McCoy with Flourish Leadership Group, where I ignite your leadership to the next level. I'm so glad you tuned in. And if you are joining me live, type a one in the box so I know that you're here. And if you're joining me for the replay, type hashtag replay. Look, let's just get right down to it. Leaders have a lot of work to do. They have to not only create the vision, but they have to also on the back end keep everybody busy and engaged and plug people in. My goodness, how do leaders do it? Let me tell you, there's a secret here, and I want to give you some of the insider tips on what has worked for me in leadership roles over several decades, but more importantly, what we see and witness about leaders who are able to maintain the momentum and keep it going. Number one is having lots of charisma, spunk, spark, engagement. It's about making sure that leaders are doing all they can to connect with their followers, make sure they are engaging their followers, doing something with what they do, with their vocal inflections, how they talk, how they engage, eye contact, and all the rest. We have had many dynamic leaders who have like zero in the area of charisma, but they're thoughtful, precise, accurate, and all the rest. But what brings it absolutely home for any leader who is able to do a dynamic job of bringing followers is that charisma. Being able to have whatever sort of magnetic energy it is, whatever sort of memorable way we look at them and the way they talk and how they engage. And let me tell you, folks, it is not rocket science. It is something that we need to be thinking out. So I want to challenge you to think about how you're engaging. If you're in a leadership position today, are you engaging with people in upspeak, downspeak, or are you making sure to engage them proactively, or are you just kind of being matter of fact about what you're doing? I want you to think about what you can do and how you can be more precise in being a leader who is engaging. Now, we all talk about vision, my second point of being saying, oh, let's have a plan, let's have a visionary, let's have a outlook. Well, those are all fine and well, but if you don't have someone who can see that big picture all the way down, the full line of the game, the full run the gamut of the action plan from start to finish, then what you have is really a big zero again. So it is important that we have someone who is not only carrying the plan, putting the plan together, but being a visionary to have that start to finish and being able to carry that torch. Too often we have leaders who are a lot of talk and less about being able to carry forward a plan. It's about having someone who is a visionary thinking. In my 7-step leadership building blocks fundamentals, I talk about leaders being able to have not only the vision, but carry that through to vision to legacy and being able to make sure leaders are doing all they can to not just bring a plan, not just stand at the helm and bark orders or give out direction, but being able to be a leader who executes the action and carries that out. And so we have to think in that term to make sure we're carefully thinking about how we as leaders do that. Now, it doesn't just happen overnight, it happens over practice. And it's about making sure that leaders are constantly engaging in what they do, to be thoughtful about how they carry out, and not only that, but to be able to be forward thinking. Let me tell you, I don't know about you, but you've seen your examples of bad leadership or people who are not carrying out a plan and making sure they're not doing anything they can to engage people. And so it falls flat. So we have to think about how leaders can be more thoughtful in the way that they are engaging and pulling people in to do what they need to do. Now, if you have not already checked out my 7-step leadership fundamentals plan, the leadership building blocks fundamentals, I want you to jump on over to flourishleadership.com/LBB. And that actually is the link for today about sharing where you can find leadership tools, a 7-step strategy to get yourself started. You can go through and peruse lots of good information. There's a book and a workbook set. And so I want to make sure that you're getting ahead on those leadership principles and thinking about what must be done. It's not about making sure that you go in and dive in and jump into any leadership position. Absolutely not. It's about making sure you have the fundamentals in place needed to be successful and the steps that are required to go through. So with that, let me move to the third point, and that's to make sure that as leaders, you're not only being charismatic, not only being a visionary, but that you are someone who is being cutting edge in your connectivity. Now, leaders can talk about all they want, being out there. Now, you can laugh at me if you like, because I still have a Rolodex. Yes, I have a 1980s Rolodex. I do use my online technology, absolutely, but I still love a good old-fashioned Rolodex, spinning the wheel and being able to go through and have a business card. Now, these days, obviously, maybe those who are millennials or Gen Xers, others will not necessarily know what I'm talking of the business card. But in the time where we exchanged information, I would be able to make notes to myself about those I wanted to connect with and to make sure that I was outlining how I could be of service to them. So I want you to think about it as a leader. Don't think about what you are getting, but think about what you are giving. Think about how you are giving away resource, information, support, and insight to be someone strategically thinking about how to have a broader sense, bringing about goals, bringing about achievements, and accomplishing dual missions and objectives along the way. Now, we have to think about leaders in terms of each one has a unique style. So there is going to be varying degrees of leadership energy, excitement, enthusiasm, and all the rest that will go with it. Now, I must encourage you to think about today, if you have not already, hear me out. Hello, can you hear me? That I want you to go and get leadership support and training if you have not already. Encourage you to get the Leadership Building Blocks book, but also there are lots of resources out there. Why? Because we can no longer afford, as Barbara Jordan once said, this country can no longer afford to have less than half the human energy and brain kinetic energy. I'll drop that quote in here later because I love that quote that Barbara Jordan brought about making sure that we are not using less than half our human potential and kinetic energy. So as leaders, we must do that. So I want you to feel that you're getting training and resources and support. I do want to encourage you also, if you have not already, earmark this time, 8 p.m. Eastern, to catch up with me for leadership reflections and discussions of the day to talk about topics about leadership, building better leaders, what we need to do, thinking forward, and making sure that leaders are doing all they can to be top in their field. Now, if you have not already followed what I'm doing, you can check it out at flourishleadership.com. And the resource that I mentioned, I'll actually drop the link here below. And I want to encourage you, if you are not already checking out, sharing out, please do so. You never know, there might be a friend in your circle thinking about being a leader, thinking about getting the resources and talent and skills, and don't have any clue where to go. And here, you can be the resource for them. So look forward to catching up with you again on our show here next week, 8 p.m. Eastern. Look forward to it. If you have a leadership experience you've had, share it in the link below. I'd love to hear what's working for you, and I'd love to make sure that we're engaging in following up on how we can have better leaders who flourish and thrive. Well, again, until we meet again, be enlightened, be enriched, be empowered. Take care now.